The new HP ZBook G7 is thinner and lighter than ever before. With RTX graphics and an Intel i7-10750H, this all-aluminum laptop not only packs a punch, but looks great. I've even taken the HP ZBook and run over 14 benchmark tests to create the ultimate creator-focused review of the HP ZBook. We're going to be looking at 3D modeling, video editing, and photo editing, design, and more.
Let's get rocking!
If you want to get the latest tech deals, then sign up for my texting community, 850-306-4644. More on that to come later in the video. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Benji Kaiser. This is where you're going to find the best tech and tools for creative professionals. If you're curious about the exact pricing or availability of the HP ZBook as we're going through the video, you can head down in the description below and click that link. Now, if you do make a purchase, I will get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. And that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. As I pulled the HP ZBook out of the box, I was pleased to see a thin and light laptop that held a firm attention to detail. Smooth beveled edges, a single hinge spanning nearly the entire bottom bezel of the screen, and a large trackpad suitable for on-the-go creators. Speaking of the hinge, this laptop has zero screen flex and opens and closes smoothly with only one hand, a testament of the extra steps it takes to produce a durable laptop. While we are talking about the screen, let's take a look at the color gamut range, color accuracy, and brightness of the ZBook G7. According to my test, the HP ZBook with the full HD display can reach 413 nits at full screen brightness and has a color gamut range of 99% sRGB, 79% Adobe RGB, and 79% DCI-P3. Being that this is HP's creator workstation, I'm a little disappointed by the absence of 100% Adobe RGB. This is an area I think they can make some improvements on moving forward. However, do note that the delta E is 0.9, so that means that the color range, the accuracy at which it will produce that color range is very good, but the color gamut range isn't as large as, say, covering 100% Adobe RGB. But the range it does cover will be accurate. I hope that made sense. The top cover, bottom cover, and keyboard deck on the HP ZBook are anodized aluminum. Also, fun fact, 7.8% of the plastic material on this laptop is post-consumer recycled. So if you're into that sort of thing, they've got you covered. I want to mention as well that the side panels are a part of the keyboard deck. So the entire keyboard deck, the top cover extending down to the side panels is one solid piece of aluminum. I like this because it removes any risk of these two pieces separating over time or perhaps during an accidental drop. So more improved build quality there, being that that's one solid piece. Speaking of the build, let's talk about how on the go this laptop really is. Weighing in at 3.84 pounds and at a thickness of 0.68 inches thick, it is almost half a pound lighter and barely thicker than the MacBook Pro 16 at 0.64 inches thick. The 83 watt-hour battery should give you roughly 11 hours of web browsing battery life and about 7 to 8 hours of design and video editing life. The port selection on the HP ZBook G7 is generous, offering you as follows. I always say if you are going to be considering port selections, make sure you think about your own daily use case. Do the ports that this computer provides fit into your workflow? If so, this could be a great pick for you. So as far as our creators are concerned, with the SD card slot, this may be my new favorite laptop for video editors. But with the lack of an HDMI port, you will need to snag a dongle to hook up your extra external monitors. But to see how great this laptop actually is, we'll have to see how this laptop handles the benchmark test coming up later in the video, so make sure you hang on. If you're enjoying this video and getting some value and you want to save a little bit of money on your next laptop or desktop purchase, then you don't want to miss out on my texting community that I mentioned earlier, 850-306-4644. Again, 850-306-4644. A lot of things will be happening there, but most importantly, I'm excited about the weekly tech deals I will be sending exclusively to my texting community. Every week, you'll get a fresh lineup of the latest deals on discounted laptops delivered to your phone via text. Plus, there's a few ways to engage directly with me in the community. So make sure you text to find out, 850-306-4644. 4644. Moving down to the aluminum keyboard deck, HP has placed a spacious full-size keyboard on the ZBook without a numpad, which makes me happy because I never use numpads. I know there's a lot of gamers out there that use the numpad as part of their gaming experience, but I'm not personally a gamer, so it just hogs my keyboard space. So I like that it doesn't have it personally. HP has done a great work on their keyboards over the past 2 years. When I first put my hands on the HP Omen in late 2020, I was blown away at how comfortable and soft the soft touch keycaps were, how snappy the keys were, and how quiet the keystrokes were when typing. This keyboard is slightly different from the HP Omen. The keys are a little bit harder. They still have a soft touch material, but they're not as soft, just to be honest. I'm really splitting hairs on this one. It is a great keyboard, but just note that it's a little bit, harder keys than say the Omen, which has those really nice soft touch keys. The trackpad is great as well. It is very quiet when the click is activated, and the trackpad is firmly secured to the chassis. I think this will be really nice for creators. Dragging new shapes, conducting edits, and working in apps like Photoshop will be complemented very nicely by this trackpad. Okay, I'll pause on geeking out so you can listen to me typing and using the trackpad so you know how loud or quiet and smooth this trackpad is. Oh, and on a really cool side note, the model I received came with a very handsome charger with a braided cord. I thought this was a really nice touch. A lot of times I feel like brands overlook the charger and you get like some really janky, looks like it was from like 10 years ago. This is super modern, looks very, very clean, really durable. I just like this extra touch. It just showed the care that HP put into this laptop. This laptop does come with a 720p webcam, so you won't miss out on those crucial virtual meetings if the need arises. This laptop has excellent ventilation on the keyboard deck, behind the keyboard deck, bottom cover, and left side panel. These vents are able to cool this laptop well during the test, coming up in just a minute. But since we're talking about it, I'll show you the thermal results of this laptop right now. The ZBook stays respectively cool, and as you can see in the charts, it is in the mid-range. So not too hot, not too cool, just right. This makes me happy. Now that we've gone through all the details concerning the build and usability of this laptop, let's dive into the performance specs. The HP ZBook I'm reviewing comes with the Intel Core i7-10750H with 6 cores and 12 threads, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070 Max-Q with 8 gigs of VRAM, 16 gigs of RAM, and 512 gig SSD. Let's take a second before we get into the benchmark results to see how well the components were utilized during the test you're about to see. To start things off, let's jump into the Photoshop benchmark. I use the Puget Systems benchmark to see how well this laptop can handle the most intense tool in Adobe's design suite. If a laptop can perform well in Photoshop, it will handle InDesign and Illustrator with ease. In the Photoshop benchmarks, the HP ZBook G7 is sitting in the mid-range of my test results, coming out at a 602 on the Photoshop benchmark score. Definitely a suitable laptop for Photoshop tasks. You can also use this reference if you are considering other design or photography-focused software, such as Affinity Photo, Sketch, and Figma. And for those of you who think I've said Affinity Photo. Now that we know this laptop can handle the Adobe Design Suite, let's check out how it can handle motion design inside of After Effects. As you can see, the HP ZBook is pulling off a 762 in the After Effects Puget Systems benchmark test, and that is a solid score. And for the After Effects render test, it is snagging a 482, which is a pretty good render time. It's not great. The Max-Q version of this GPU is kind of slowing down the ability to render as quickly. If it was the standard 2070 non-Max-Q version, it would definitely have a better score on this one, but it's just not as fast as, say, the Asus ROG Strix G15, for instance. In the Geekbench single core and multi-core, the HP ZBook handled itself well, attaining a 1276 on the single core benchmark, placing it in, again, about the mid-ish range. And then for the multi-core test, it was able to pull off a 5776, which places it right in the midst of the other i7-10750H CPUs on my chart. Intel is strong in single core, which makes it great for video editing, motion design, and 3D modeling. But as you can see, the Ryzen processors top the charts for multi-core performance. So if you're someone that works heavily in multitasking situations, then I would consider picking up something like the HP Omen, which comes with the Ryzen 7 4800H. As you can see, it sits in third place out of all the laptops I have reviewed on my channel. I'll link that one up as well in the description below, so you can kind of consider the two. And I also actually filmed a dedicated head-to-head video of the HP Omen versus the ZBook, and you could watch that in the YouTube cards above once this video is finished if you want to get a really good head-to-head comparison. Moving into the 3D modeling benchmarks, let's take a look at Cinebench R20. The HP ZBook came in 6th place on the charts with a 3,252. And as requested, here are the specific 3D modeling benchmarks. If you have any more requests for 3D modeling tests you want me to run, please let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to see if I can include those in future reviews if possible. In Autodesk 3ds Max, you're scoring a 142.9, Autodesk Maya 178.7, PTC Creo 137.7, SolidWorks 72.6. And for the Blender Classroom benchmark, the HP ZBook was able to complete that test using the GPU in 5 minutes and 57 seconds. Now on to my favorite portion of the benchmark test, video editing Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve. First, I'm going to start off with a playback test. For this test, I'm going to take a 9-minute 4K clip, add some motion graphics, and then play it back in the timeline at full quality. This full clip contains 16,177 frames in total, with 7,240 of those frames being motion graphics. During this test, the HP ZBook G7 saw drop frame rates as follows. At full quality, 92 drop frames. At half quality, 0 drop frames. And at fourth quality, 0 dropped frames. So pretty solid results. Like I said, if you had the non-Max-Q version of that 2070 GPU, you'd have 0 drop frames across the board, but that Max-Q version is a little less powerful than its big brother, so just keep that in mind. I was running this test with only Premiere Pro open, so I will say that if you start multitasking on your laptop while editing, you may experience more drop frames at full quality, but you can easily drop down to fourth or half quality if you want to keep that editing experience smooth. To render out the 7,240 of the motion design frames in that project took 3 minutes and 22 seconds, which is a pretty solid time for the i7-10750H and RTX 2070 Max-Q equipped laptop. Moving on to the 4K export test, I'm going to take a 9-minute 4K clip, place it into Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve. Keep in mind I'm using the free version of DaVinci Resolve, then export both out at 1080p and 4K YouTube settings. Premiere Pro 4K to 4K export took 3 minutes and 28 seconds. 4K to 1080p took 3 minutes and 41 seconds. And for DaVinci Resolve, 4K to 4K export took 13 minutes and 27 seconds. DaVinci Resolve 4K to 1080p, 11 minutes and 35 seconds. Earlier, we took a look at thermals and component usage, but no review would be complete without checking into the noise that this laptop produces while running these programs and benchmarks. At idle, we heard no fan noise out of this laptop. During web browsing, about 32 decibels, which is kind of your average room noise, maybe slightly louder. Photoshop benchmark was about 48 decibels on average. Premiere Pro 4K to 4K saw a peak of 56 decibels, and DaVinci Resolve 4K to 4K export saw a peak of 55 decibels. So we'll say that this laptop can get a little noisy, not crazy loud compared to other laptops I've reviewed on my channel, but it's not a quiet laptop, so to speak. Referring back to the previous cooling test, you can see this laptop does keep the thermals in check. For the amount of power this laptop pushes out, it is quite impressive how cool it can stay. So if you're looking for an all aluminum laptop that has great battery life, solid color gamut range, and color accuracy with a delta E less than 1, fantastic video editing, design, and 3D modeling scores, plus an excellent keyboard and trackpad, then I would consider the HP Omen ZBook G7. If you're curious about the availability or exact price of this model, you can head down in the description below and click one of those links. And if you want to keep up to date on the latest deals, then text me at 850-306-4644 to sign up for my texting community. I'll talk to you guys later. If you want more videos about the ZBook, click or tap the screen over there. Otherwise, keep texting, keep designing, keep creating, keep editing. I'm Benji Kaiser, and I'll see you here in the next video.